go. Yo, what's good, man? MBS Central, MBS Uncensored, man. And we're actually live right now, man. We normally don't go live. You guys request this, so we'll go live here and there. But let's get to why we here. It's the college football national title game. It's done. It's over. Michigan wins convincingly. And Blake Corum gets named player of the game for the national title game. Before we get to all of that, man, I got True X, the sports junkie, with me. What's going on?
Hey man, if you gonna introduce me, because you made me wait. If you gonna introduce me right with a record of 30-13 in the Bowl Mania. The champ is here, baby. Yeah, don't put your
Okay, the
hand
Bowl
down
Mania
now.
champion.
Pick your hand up.
Congratulations. And obviously we got Mr. Box Office with us right now.
Hey man, I'm excited to join y'all. X, congrats on college bowl.
Yvonne.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, congrats to X on college bowl.
Yeah.
Got me by a damn game. But it is what it is. Hey, I had a good college bowl season, but somebody just beat me by one game. What can I say?
It was the Texas-Washington game that separated us because me and you pretty much had the same games. So I was looking at your picks and my picks. It's almost like we picked the games together.
Yeah. And I had Texas, Michigan in the preseason.
Yeah.
I kind of stuck with it. I was just like, whatever. But it is what it is. Hey, impressive enough for both of us to even like just pick out the winner.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You froze?
All right.
Okay,
So
good.
let's get to the game. So like I said, let's get to this game that happened, man. What was your guys' thoughts on this game?
Go ahead, Mr. Box Office. You called Michigan from the day one. They were gonna win a national championship. What you thought about the game?
Okay, so I had it on the show last week. I had it 23-20. I changed my mind. I made it 27-24 today. And I wasn't far off from Michigan. They only scored a touchdown more. But I said on the show, Michigan will win because they will run, and limit Penix's possessions. And look what happened. 303 rushing yards. Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum both over 100 yards, both 2 touchdowns each. The only thing I was surprised about was Penix was way off. Way more rusty than I thought he'd be. I mean, against Texas, he was spot on. I mean, he was hitting every throw on the money. And tonight, he had a Dunze in the first half deep, and if he threw it inside, it's a huge gain. And then he threw him outside. I know y'all remember that play. And then just throughout the game, he was overthrowing. Honestly, this L obviously goes on the Washington rush defense, but in the second half, Penix had his opportunities. He had 51 throws, completed only half of them, 2 interceptions. Honestly, Washington had their chances.
Absolutely.
It was 20-13 with a bunch of time to go. They had plenty of chances, only 3 points in the whole second half. They even got the ball to start the second half, and he throws an interception on the first play. So I'm not surprised Michigan won. I'm more surprised at how much Penix struggled. I knew Michigan's secondary was better. than Texas is. I knew Michigan's defense was the best in the nation, but I expected more from Penix. And at times, it wasn't even the Michigan defense. He was just missing simple throws.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And I think his NFL draft stock took a little bit of a hit tonight, even though I still think he's going to be a first rounder, and he should be because he went 14-1 this year. But I'm not surprised overall. I said Michigan should run the ball. Texas averaged 6 yards a rush against them. Someone else should capitalize on that. 303 rushing yards for Michigan. And then obviously the defense stepped up when it needed to. So overall, I'm not surprised by the end result. I had Michigan win the national title, and they did it. Harbaugh wins it, and he's going back to the NFL this week.
Okay, well, I was worried that y'all might not saw the game the way I saw it, but I saw it exactly the same way Mr. Box Office saw it. Washington had their chances. Penix did not, in my opinion, he just didn't show up. I'm just being real with y'all. I felt like he missed a lot of throws. And even though that run defense gave up 300 plus yards rushing, if you really bottle it up, it was the first quarter and the fourth quarter. Right. That second and third, they played good defense. Like you said, it was 20-13. At some point, Penix has to make one of these throws and give Washington opportunity maybe to take the lead in that game or at least tie the game at some point. And I just feel like every time he had his opportunity, he did not come through it. And the crazy thing is, against Texas, he hit every single throw. It was like he couldn't miss. It was literally a story of two different games. It looked like two totally different quarterbacks from the Texas game to the Michigan game. So that was a big key for me. And like I said, I felt like Michigan dominated the first quarter, 14-3. Second quarter, Washington outscored Michigan 7-3. Third quarter was 3-3. And then the fourth quarter, I think once Loveland caught that big catch from Michigan and got him down there, I kind of knew it was over. You can see the writing on the wall. Blake Corum goes on to score in that drive, and then Penix throws the pick. You kind of knew it was coming. I said on the show, on the NBS show, I thought he would have a chance to drive. Obviously, wasn't to take the lead, but he threw a pick. And kudos to the Michigan Wolverines, man. They were the best team all year, and they proved it. Not only beating Washington tonight, knocking off Alabama, who everybody, besides myself, I was like, Alabama's done. But you guys kept telling me Alabama's still that team, X. And Michigan beat them as well. So shout out to Michigan, man.
Not to mention Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa, everyone else.
Yep. Go ahead, Washington. Person that picked Washington to win the game.
Okay. Well, man, I was wrong about this game, man. Yeah, I was completely wrong. I had Washington winning it. I think nearly everybody picked Washington outside of Q. Shout out to Q. But everybody picked Michigan in this game. I thought it was going to be Washington's game, and I thought Penix was going to take advantage with those wide receivers, and obviously he just never got it going. Michigan's defense was disrupting him the whole time, but I do got to give a credit to Washington's defense, though. They did step up. They made some huge stops, but Washington just didn't take advantage of those opportunities, man. They had some huge opportunities that they could have taken advantage of. They missed, they had some key drops, overthrown throws that they had huge opportunities in, and they didn't take advantage. And people could say, there were calls that Washington didn't get off of certain penalties that they didn't call, but it didn't even matter, man. I don't think it would have mattered in the first place. Michigan was just a better team overall, and this in this game. I've been against Michigan almost, no, I'm not going to say the entire year. in the beginning of the year when we did our preseason picks, I didn't have Michigan. I felt like Ohio State was going to beat them also, and obviously I picked them. I picked Alabama against them, and obviously I picked Washington against them. So I was completely wrong about this team, and they've got it done, man. A perfect season, and shout out to Michigan. They made some huge plays. JJ McCarthy made some huge throws also. Even though they did get slowed down in the second half, but they found a way to take advantage. The game was close, but Michigan put it away, and that's what champions do.
Okay.
So so when it comes to now that we see this, where do you rank, this national title team of Michigan?
Okay, I'll go first. I do think it's the best team in Michigan history. I
Wow.
will go there. I understand the 97 team. I never watched the 97 team, obviously, but I've done my research and looked into it. I think this team is better coached. Obviously, Charles Woodson's the best player out of both of those teams. I think McCarthy is the best Michigan quarterback. He solidified himself tonight. I just think the run game is too good. Also, I mean, come on, this defense is nasty. This defense is nasty. Well coached, like I said, by Harbaugh. How about this? I'm gonna go since the 14 playoff, okay? And that got introduced 2014. So I'm gonna go down the line in order. Is this team better than the Ohio State 2014 team? I'm going to say no. I think Ohio State team was better. The 2015 Alabama team, that was the Derrick Henry team. I do think Michigan's better than that Derrick Henry team.
Wow.
Yes. 2016 Clemson. Oh man, that's a toss up.
You wild boy. You a wild boy right now.
I'm gonna go Clemson's better. 2017 Alabama team. Which Alabama team was that? I'm gonna go Michigan's better than that team. Clemson, Trevor Lawrence. I think Michigan's better than that Trevor Lawrence. I do. I think the Deshaun Watson Clemson team is better. LSU's better than that Michigan team for sure.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say you wild now.
Alabama 2020 with Mac Jones and Devontae Smith. Alabama's better. And the last two Georgia teams, well, they beat Michigan, but the older Michigan, I'll still say Georgia's better. So they're somewhere in there in the middle there. They're definitely not the worst 4-team college football champions, in my opinion. But overall, great team, great coaching, great defense. I don't think this defense gets enough credit, to be honest. I really don't. What this defense has done all year, I mean, just to do what they did against Michael Penix, to me, is impressive enough because a lot of teams are having trouble against Michael Penix. Let me see. I'm looking at Michigan's schedule this year. They allowed 7 points against UNLV, 6 against Bowling Green, 7 against Rutgers, 7 against Nebraska, 10 against Minnesota, 7 against Indiana, 0 against Michigan State, 13 against Purdue, 15 against Penn State, 24 against Maryland, 24 against Ohio State, 20 against Bama, 13 tonight, 0 against Iowa. The most points they gave up in a game this year was 24 to Ohio State and Maryland. And both of those games were actually without their head coach, Jim Harbaugh. I don't think that gets enough credit. 24 points as the most you've given up all year. They didn't give up more than 24. They didn't allow one 30-point game against them. Very impressive. This is a underrated over all-time team. I think when we look back in like 5-10 years, I really do. Just because I don't think they're fancy enough on offense, and they didn't put up numbers like fireworks, so they're not as shock value out there. But I think their defense is really good, and they're underrated overall.
Okay. So no, I don't agree with Mr. Box Office when it comes to. I'm old enough to remember that Michigan team with Charles Woodson, and I want to say that they didn't give up a fourth quarter touchdown. I think the entire year until they played, it might have been Washington State. They were ridiculous on defense. They were shut down city. Charles Woodson obviously won the Heisman, and when you think about it, that, might be like the all-time greatest group of people that was like in the Heisman race. You had Peyton Manning, you had Randy Moss, and, and Charles Woodson won the Heisman that year. So just put that in perspective. So no, I wouldn't rate him above that Michigan team, though I understand what he said about JJ McCarthy being the greatest Michigan quarterback. I'm not mad at that. But I would slightly put that Michigan team above this Michigan team. It's no knock to this Michigan team. Great season. Not knocking that. Ryan Leaf, they knocked Ryan Leaf off in the national championship game. Though I think that Ryan Leaf was a bust in the NFL, but I think that was more mental. Physically, he had all the tools. Ryan Leaf was a number 2 pick. And some people thought that he should go number 1 over Peyton Manning. So they beat a quarterback that I'm not sitting there saying is better than Michael Penix in a sense, but definitely had more hype going into the NFL than Michael Penix does. Michael Penix may be a first-round draft pick. Ryan Leaf was arguably the first pick in the draft, and I just told y'all some of the guys that was in the Heisman race that year. So I would rate Michigan 97 better than the Michigan team this year. And I think this is a really good Michigan team. I don't think they're an all-time great team. I wouldn't put them above the LSUs, the Alabama teams, the Clemson teams, the Miami teams, the Nebraska teams. But it's a good team, a very good team. And congratulations to them. They were hungry. They came back after 2 heartbreaking losses in the playoffs and finally got over the hump. You don't often see that.
This Michigan team, I do not think that's the best Michigan championship team of all time. Yeah, because that defense was ferocious. I think that year they didn't even have a 1,000-yard rusher. I don't think they even had a player that went 500 yards. I think I remembered that. The best wide receiver they had might have been Ty Streets that year. They had Donnie Jones on defense. They had Donnie. Hey man, don't disrespect Ty Streets.
Hey,
Man.
I like Ty Streets.
They had Donnie Jones.
The funny thing, Keo, is I was a kid then. I was a kid. And for those that don't know, I did like LSU, but my favorite team as a kid when I was like young like that was Michigan. I love Charles Woodson.
Yeah, man. I just don't think it was the best Michigan championship team. But I think the offense was a better offense though. JJ McCarthy, I still don't think he's the best Michigan quarterback of all time. But I do think though Blake Corum is gonna go down as one of the best Michigan running backs of all time though.
He should.
I know people always gonna mention Mike Hart from Michigan. I think he's the all-time Michigan leading rusher. I think Corum, I think he might have ended up finishing maybe the top 7, top 8 in as far as rushing goes. But he's the all-time leading touchdown leader by a landslide when it comes to rushing touchdowns for him. But I don't think this is the best championship team. I think what this team was put through, I think the path that they went through was more impressive than what they had to deal with in 1997. So I just felt like the path that they went through was more impressive what happened in 1997 because all the stuff circulating Harbaugh, and and they had some tough games that they went through. They had the Ohio State game, obviously the games that we see right now with Alabama and Washington. So I thought the path that they went through was very tough and impressive. So I don't think this is the best Michigan team of all time.
That's what's fun about it. You
Last
get to
question
debate
before we
these
get out of
things.
here, man.
Good.
Last question before we get out of here, man. Will Michigan repeat next year?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no, and they've got no chance to repeat. You know how many, you know how much NFL talent they're gonna lose. I mean, first off, they're gonna lose their coach. Jim Harbaugh is out of there. JJ McCarthy is going to the NFL. Blake Corum's going to the NFL. I think Donovan Edwards is going to the NFL. Chris Jenkins on the defensive side is going.
Will Johnson.
Sainstrill, that nasty nickel corner is going. Will Johnson, I think, is going. No, in fact, I think Michigan might finish under 500 next year. And I hate to say it, but now the Big Ten is going to be having Washington, Oregon, UCLA,
Yep.
USC. Actually, I think Michigan's going to be really bad next year, and they actually have a rematch with Washington next year. So I think Michigan will be bad, but who cares? You just won a national title. You can be bad for a couple of years. It'll be interesting who their next coach is. I think it should be Sherrod Moore, who replaced Harbaugh, and he's already beaten Ohio State. So that's a big thing. So yeah, Michigan has 0% chance to repeat just because they're losing.
God, you gave them 0%.
Zero. They are losing. They are losing that much talent.
Nah, I agree with Mr. Box Office. I'll never say 0, but I'm like at literally 1% chance they have a chance to repeat. I'm with Mr. Box Office. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs next year. I don't know if they'll be under 500. I think they'll be a decent team. But repeating is going to be so hard. You're talking about a 12-team playoff next year. Georgia's going to be pissed off that they didn't get into the playoff this year. They're going to be much better. Alabama, Milroe's coming back. And it took Michigan with this team to knock off Alabama. And so you're talking about Alabama coming back next year. LSU, I know. Look, you already know. If we talking college football, rapping us. Hey, LSU, oh my God. Brian Kelly, shout out to you, man. We dealing something over here. We actually just went into the state of Michigan and took the #1 quarterback in the country. Bryce Underwood, what up? Uh-oh. So no, but Michigan's not going to repeat next year. But they won't be as bad as Mr. Box Office is saying they're going to be.
I don't think they're going to be the worst team though, because obviously you're still going to have some recruiting class coming in. They still got some defensive playmakers that may be staying. I'm not. I know Blake Corum is gone. I'm not sure what's the status with Donovan Edwards. I do like the dual threat quarterback that they had in for a couple plays early today. I do like him, but I don't think they will repeat. I think they'll get into a bowl game, but as far as winning the Big Ten, being a contender, I don't think so, man. Because like Yvonne said, they've have.
I think Keo froze up.
All right, I got a question for you while Keo's done. I know we have to wrap this up because it's getting late. But I know it's way too early. national championship prediction next year. Who plays the national championship next year and who wins it? I mean, obviously we're gonna change our pick once we get to the season next year. But I just want to know because I have my stuff written down right now, and you're gonna say XU wild.
Okay, well, I have an easy prediction. It's gonna be Alabama versus Georgia.
Oh my God, I got the same. And I said he gonna say, you said Alabama's done. But come on, man. Those two teams are gonna be ridiculous next year.
And I if I had to say today, I think Alabama would win. But like I mean, we're gonna change our minds a lot by the time September rolls around. But I picked Michigan to win this year in the preseason, and what I was mainly going off of that is when I look into going into these next years into college, I look at who's got so many returning starters, who's got a solid quarterback, and who's got the best coach. I mean, from what I'm seeing, Georgia and Alabama have the best coaches. They have returning quarterbacks, and obviously we know about the rest of their talent that's returning. So if I had to say right now, it'd be Alabama, and I'm actually struggling to tell you that third team. I think Texas will be in the mix because Quinn Ewers is coming back, but they're losing a lot of talent. And then Michigan, I don't think is the same. We don't know who's Ohio State's quarterback. We're assuming it's that quarterback that came from Kansas State, but will his chemistry be down? And then I don't even know from there. Obviously, Washington's going to be a completely different team. So if I had to say today, Alabama, Georgia.
Okay, I'm with Mr. Box Office Q. I'm gonna let you go after that, but I would actually say Georgia's gonna win it. But just to add on to what you said, Mr. Box Office, to me, not only do they have the coaches, the quarterback, the recruiting class, they reload every year. I'll say this: they both have a chip on their shoulder from this year.
Right.
Georgia, I mean, one loss, and they lost an SEC championship game, and they got kept out. So they're going to come back with a big chip on their shoulder. And obviously Alabama feeling like we went into overtime with a team that just won the national championship, and we were up in that game. So I'm with you. If I had to say today, I would say Georgia over Alabama in the national championship game. But I can see it either way. I will say before Keel goes, Milroe to me is the front runner for the Heisman next year.
I'm okay with that.
I think that the two front runners to win the national title is Alabama and Georgia. Alabama, they're returning Jalen Milroe. We know that. I know they lost a couple players from the transfer portal, players entering the draft, but Alabama, they always have a good recruiting class as long as Saban's there. Georgia, Carson Beck's returning for his senior year. They also get the transfer player, man, Trevor Etienne from Florida. That running game's gonna look nasty, man. I like Ohio State too. They did lose McCord in the transfer portal, like Yvonne said. They end up getting the K-State quarterback, Will Howard. Mm-hmm. So I like that. I like that team also. You definitely can't rule Texas out because I don't know what's the status on Quinn Ewers, if he is planning to stay.
He's coming.
But they got Arch Manning that everybody's excited about. Okay. But yeah, those are the teams that I do I said those are the teams that I do plan on that I think are favorites going into next season.
Okay,
also,
so we all on the same
all right,
page,
guys. Well, we ain't gonna be.
Well, I just want to add next year 12-team playoff. 12-team playoff. College football is going to look a whole lot different next year. And because it's 12, LSU's finally going to make it. So,
yeah, so now you jumping on the bandwagon. Nuts bus, baby. Hey, listen, LSU. I just said I think Georgia and Alabama are a little bit better. Don't sleep on LSU next year. They're going to be good. But I will say, I think that right now, if you ask me today, I think Texas, Georgia, Alabama all make the playoffs next year.
I agree. And actually a team I don't want to count out that I expect to make the playoff next year and be dangerous is actually Ole Miss.
Well, they lost.
They lost their running back.
Duncan.
Yes.
Yeah, he went. I think he's going to Ohio State. That's what a lot of people are reporting. It's not
Yeah.
official yet, but I don't. I think he was a big loss for them. I know Jackson Dart's coming back, but that's a big one, and they're gonna lose the receiver Harris, who was big time. So to the NFL, I think so. I don't know. I gotta see a little bit more from Ole Miss.
Before we leave, where is Jim Harbaugh coaching come September? I'm gonna say the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm sticking with that.
Oh, okay. So let me say this. I want him to come to the New Orleans Saints. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what I want. I'll say he'll be coaching the Chargers. He likes Herbert, from what I understand.
Well, I agree with all you guys also, because I'm going with the Chargers also. I think that's the best situation for him.
Okay.
And he don't need to turn much yeah, and he don't need to turn much with that team around, because they still got some nice pieces around them. But with that being said, man, let's wrap things up, man, and let's go straight to our shout outs.
Well, I'll go first. Shout out to Mr. Box Office. He did. I gotta give him his props, even though I won the Bowl Mania. He predicted that Michigan would win the national championship before the season started. Though we all had him in the Final Four, I remember vividly he said Michigan was going to win it from the very beginning. So shout out to him. Shout out to Keel, man. All the artwork that y'all see on social media, my boy Keel does all that, man. He puts a lot of work into it. So Keel, we're giving you your flowers right now. If y'all haven't yet, go subscribe to the brand. On all social media platforms, but most importantly, subscribe on YouTube. On YouTube is where we post everything first for the most part. So make sure that you subscribe to that. With that being said, even though Michigan won, it's still go Tigers. Oh!
Well, shout out to you boys. Great college football season. Sad that it has to come down to an end. Look, we got a month left of the NFL, then March Madness, then the NBA playoffs. See y'all Wednesday.
Yeah, man. Which is see you guys Wednesday. Shout out to X, shout out to Mr. Box Office. Congratulations to X winning the Bowl Mania this year. Make sure you go subscribe to the channel. And this video will be available right when the show is over, man. No editing or anything, man. But with that being said, we'll see you guys on the MBS show. We'll be talking a little bit more about the college football title that Michigan just won. But with that being said, man, see you guys next time. We out.